Hi there guys, my name is Jacob and welcome back to the channel. Now about a year ago I posted a video on my channel and it was an overview of my pension. I went through what I contribute, the balance of the pension, the forecast for the pension, all that type of information, and to my surprise it actually went on to be the best performing video on my channel. And as of today I believe it's approaching nearly 40,000 views. And for a channel that has under 2,000 subscribers, I think that is pretty impressive. And along the way, over that year, I have had quite a few people ask me in the comments of that video whether I would be interested in doing an update video. So, 12 months on, what is my pension looking like then? And it just so happens that today, on the 14th of August, 2025, is exactly a year since I posted that video. So I thought, what better time than to provide you with that update today? So that is exactly what today's video is going to be all about. Now, before I get into it, please consider hitting the like button and the subscribe button because it really does help my channel. And as I said, I have under 2,000 subscribers. So if this video performs anything like the last one, it would be great if I could turn some of those 40,000 views into likes and subscribers. So if you could do that for me now, I would be eternally grateful. Right then, so before I get into the numbers, I guess I should give you a bit of background information about my career, just so it kind of makes sense for you when I get into what is actually in my pension pot. So I am 32 years old, and although my hairline may tell you differently, I promise you that is the truth. And I have been working for the same company for the last 14 years. And so I basically started at this company. It's a telecoms company. And obviously I won't tell you the name of it because, of course, I still work there and, I don't want anything to be compromised there. But yeah, I've worked there for 14 years and I started at the very bottom. I started on an apprenticeship straight out of college, and that was in 2011. I believe August of 2011. And I started on £12,000. Now, when I started, I don't believe I did any pension contributions at that time. Or if I did, it would have been the absolute bare minimum, just a couple of percent. Because, of course, on £12,000, there really isn't much left to provide to a pension. But as the years went on and my salary increased, of course, I upped my pension contributions. At one point, I did 5% and my company matched that 5%. So as a total 10%. But as of today and of the last few years, I contribute 10% and my company matches that. So overall, I contribute 20% of my salary to my pension. Now, as I said, I started off on £12,000 when I first joined the company on an apprenticeship scheme. But as of today, 14 years later, my salary is now approximately £44,300. So I've managed to increase my salary quite a substantial amount. But of course, that has been over 14 years. And there's been, a few promotions and job role changes in that time. But of course, as I said, I have stayed with the same company. And I've done that for a variety of reasons, but I guess I should probably go into that in another video. So if my salary is £44,300, then it's quite easy to work out what my contributions are, because as I said, I contribute 10%. So as a monthly contribution, I contribute £369.60. And over a 12-month period, that adds up to roughly 4,400 and something. And as I said, my company also matches that. So my overall contribution for the month is £739.20. So that is what leaves my kind of paycheck every month and goes into my private pension. £739. So a pretty decent amount if you ask me. Now, let's get into what my pension was 12 months ago, because of course we need to know what it was then, so to see what's happened in the last 12 months. So 12 months ago, my balance of my pension and this was on the 12th of August 2024. My pension pot had a balance of £68,401. So I think that's a pretty decent amount for, I would have been 31 back then. So 68,000 approximately. But if we move forward a full year to today, and I checked this an hour ago, my balance as of right now is £89,013. So that is roughly an increase over a 12-month period of £20,600. Now, I have not contributed £20,600. Roughly, I have contributed around £9,400 according to the online pension portal. I've actually contributed 13 payments in that time, not 12 like I thought. But yeah, so depending on the dates of when they take the actual payment, it's worked out to be 13 payments over that 12-month period. But like I say, I've contributed £9,400 over that 12-month period, which has meant my pension has grown by £11,200 over that same period. So it's grown far more than I have actually contributed. And that is pretty incredible if you ask me. But ultimately, that is the power of kind of compound interest and the power of having your money invested in the stock market. And that is exactly what my pension is. It is invested in the stock market, and mostly the US stock market, which is the S&P 500. Now, I won't advise anybody what to do with their money because I'm not a financial advisor, but that's just what I choose to do with my money. And so far, over the past 14 years, it has worked out pretty well for me. But of course, whether that carries on is anybody's guess. So my pension pot, as I said, is now at £89,000. And at 32 years old, I thought that is pretty decent. I've spoke to a few people in my office, and some of them, their pension pots don't have anywhere near that amount of money in. And I guess that is for a number of reasons. I guess number one is a lot of them haven't been at the company as long as I have. So that's an obvious reason. But the second more important reason, I think, is that most people do not choose to max out their pension contributions. And what I mean by that is, as I said before, my company does a match scheme where it will match your contribution up to a maximum of 10%. So I do 10, they do 10. Most people don't take advantage of that, which in my mind is crazy because it's basically free money. Up to 10%, I am doubling my money with every pound I put in my pension. Why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't anybody else in my office do that? I don't know the answer to that, but what I do know is most people in my office don't contribute anywhere near that 10% mark. So ultimately, they're not contributing as much per month as I am. So it makes sense that their pension pots are not as big as mine. But I personally choose to contribute as much as I can to my pension. I guess number one, as I said before, it's free money. Every pound I put in, I double, which is, where can you get that type of return? I guess secondly, there is a tax saving associated with the money that you put in your pension. So for every pound I put in, that is money that comes off my taxable salary. So again, not only am I doubling every pound I put in, but I'm also saving on my tax bill every month. So the amount of tax taken from my salary is less than it would be if I contributed, less to my pension. So again, there's multiple savings associated with the pension contributions. And, the other reason why I do so much is, of course, I want to retire early. And this is something I have kind of always had in my mind. And I guess it's associated really with seeing people around me, such as, my dad and other people his age, working into their 60s full time, and mostly because they have to, not because they want to. And I just don't want that for myself. So, I'm hoping that when I get to, in my 50s, I'll be able to have the choice. And I'm not saying I will retire early, but I would like the opportunity and the choice. So if I'm not enjoying my job, or for whatever reason I want to quit my job, then I can make that decision and it won't be detrimental to my life. But as I said, a lot of the people that I know in later life and that I've grown up seeing, a lot of them are still in work now, and it's because they haven't really planned ahead with pensions and investments and things like that. So really they have no choice, and I just want to give myself a choice ultimately. So that is why I've focused quite heavily almost all my career on making sure my pensions are at the kind of max contribution to get the most benefit out of it. Now, as I said earlier, my balance is 89,000, and I thought that was a pretty decent balance. But of course, I've got not very much to compare it to. So I Googled what is the median private pension pot in the UK as of 2025, and it gave me age brackets and the median number of what those pension pots are. And I'll be honest, this really surprised me. So I'll just go through this now. So the median private pension pots for age 25 to 34 is just 9,500. Now, I guess that's not surprising when you take into account that age bracket. Quite a few people are maybe just coming out of university, maybe never even had a job. Some people will have been working for a few years, but, they won't have built up much in their pension pot because, it happens slowly. So that one isn't so surprising. But of course, you've jumped to the next bracket, 35 to 44. Now, I'm not in this age bracket, but my pension pot is already bigger than this. So 35 to 44, the median private pension pot is 30,600. So it's triple what the last bracket was, but still not a substantial amount. And by 35 to 44, you would have thought these, the average person would have had a good number of years of a career behind them and starting to, maybe just starting to think about a pension and what they might need to retire moving forward. Now, the next age bracket, 45 to 54, again, another big jump up to 81,000. But again, I still have more than that at 32. So it really shocked me seeing that, but also it gives me a little bit of peace of mind knowing that I guess I'm ahead of the curve when it comes to what I have in my pension and hopefully setting myself up for a comfortable retirement. But at 81,000, still, that is a decent amount of money. But for 45 to 54, I was expecting quite a bit more than that, to be honest. Now, the last age bracket it gave me was 55 to 64. Now, this one comes out as 189,000. So that is almost exactly £100,000 more than what I currently have at 32. So a long way ahead of me. But of course, I've got 30 years to catch up on that. And it's funny because I did the maths, and, if I work another 30 years, I will have contributed, with this is taking into account my contributions plus my company's contributions, I will have contributed nearly £300,000 more to my pension in that time. So that would put my pension pot at 55 to 64 in that age bracket. Well, roughly around that age bracket. Somewhere near 400,000. So more than double what the median average is. So again, it's quite surprising. I don't know, maybe you let me know in the comments whether you're surprised, but I was really surprised seeing these numbers. They were just a lot lower than I expected them to be. But nevertheless, it is what it is, and we're all different. We all have our reasons as to why we contribute more or less to our pensions. I'm quite lucky in the sense that my company does a really good matching scheme. And also, I'm really lucky that I've never been out of work since the age of 18. I have worked consistently from 18 to 32 for the same company, and I've never had a month that I haven't been paid. And I think that in itself is quite a rare thing. And, you know, a lot of people have gaps in employment, or that they start their careers much later than 18, and various other, you know, things that impact these numbers. So I do consider myself quite lucky that I've had that 14 years of consistent employment. And I've managed also to increase my salary over the years, because again, that obviously has a massive impact to these numbers. Now, moving forward, as part of my pensions online portal that they have like a forecasting calculator, and it just gives you a rough forecast of where they think your pension is going to be in X amount of years. And you can put all these different numbers in, and it will spit out what it thinks your pension pot will be, what your income will be from that, and all those type of things. Now, I basically just did the bog standard, what the calculator is just set up for as a default. There's a lot of assumptions in this kind of default calculation. It assumes that I'm going to work till I'm 65. It assumes my salary will go up with inflation every year. It assumes that the market that my pension money is invested in will also increase by inflation. And there's a lot of assumptions. So really, you take this with, you know, a handful of salt. But ultimately, it says that by the time I reach 65, so that is roughly 33 years away, it reckons my pension pot will be worth £727,000. So that is quite the pension pot, if you ask me. Now, you know, compare that with what the median pension pot is right now, which, as I said, is 189. You know, there is a substantial difference in what the median is and what my potential forecasted pension pot could be. But who knows whether that will happen. As I said, there is an incredible amount of assumptions put into that default calculator. But if it did end up being £727,000 when I get to 65, then it reckoned that I could have a monthly income if I sold that as an annuity. It reckoned I could have a monthly income of around £4,200 a month, which is a crazy amount of money to be earning in retirement. I mean, it's far more than I pick up now in full-time work. So I certainly wouldn't need that money, put it that way. But something that, you know, there is a little bit of a caveat to this, and that is, as I said earlier, it assumes that I will work as I am now for the remainder of my career up to 65. But I honestly have no intention of working up to the age of 65. If I had it my way, it would be closer to 50, maybe 55 at push. So, of course, that is going to have a detrimental impact on that forecast. But as I said, I just used the default forecast just to see what number it would spit out. But yeah, I would like to retire a lot earlier than 65. So, you know, I'm not going to hang my hat on what that forecast is and think I'm going to have £4,000 a month in retirement, because I don't think that's realistic. And ultimately, I wouldn't need that money anyway. I don't need that money now to live with a mortgage and all my bills. Once the mortgage is paid off and other bills are paid off as well, I wouldn't need anywhere near that much money. So that's something to take into consideration when thinking about how much money I need to actually retire and live without working. But guys, I will leave it there because this video has been a lot longer than I wanted it to be. But let me know down in the comments what you thought. Please, if you are willing, share what your pension pot is currently worth, and also what age you are as well, just so, you know, we have something to compare. And let me know what you think of this video and all the information I've provided. If you enjoyed it, please consider hitting the like button and the subscribe button. As I said, it really does help the channel. And have a look in the description box of this video too for some ways that you can help the channel. Right then, guys, I will leave it there. If you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. And guys, I will catch you in the next one.